Yeah, I think you were right. We should have started Die My Love. If we had done Die My Love after, I would have died.
Right? It would not have been okay, right? Yeah. See, I'm telling you, I have the mind of a master. I have a mind of a mastermind. How do you say that? What's that? I don't know, but I'm so creative like that.
Uh-huh. If you don't get that reference, check the episode description.
It is amazing that you work that into the way that we were talking about something. You are so creative like that.
I was waiting all week. This is a crowding achievement of my week, and I'm on holiday, bro. This is like I'm riding a high right now.
You could say you have the mind of a master.
I do have a mind of a master. A master.
You
so
are
creative like that.
So creative like that. Uh-huh.
That shit is locked in my head right now. Like it's been 1 week of it playing rent-free in my head, like randomly throughout the day.
You're fucking welcome. You're fucking welcome. I'm Wilson Lai.
I'm Benjamin Yap.
I'm Eli Sands.
You're listening to Deep Cut.
On Deep Cut, we compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us.
We also discuss that director's life and career to bring in context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to.
If you're enjoying the show, please rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to help others discover the show. Better still, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or comment on episodes directly on Spotify. You can also send us an email at hello@deepcutpod.com if you want us to read something. I mean, I read.
We just don't always respond, but we will try.
No promises. Could join the Discord if you really want to reach us.
Yeah. You could also find us at deepcutpod.com to find links to all of our socials, Discord, and our Patreon.
Welcome to our ongoing following of Kelly Reichardt's career, since we covered her way back when in episode 5 with First Cow and Old Joy. And we've been keeping up with Kelly Reichardt since, although there's only been 2 films since showing up in this one that we're about to talk about in this episode. But if you're looking for more context about Kelly Reichardt as a director, you can go to episode 5, First Cow and Old Joy. But we also have covered Meek's Cutoff in 102, when we kind of just go back to talk about what I at least think is like her masterpiece in her filmography of like genre send-ups. And I think Meek's Cutoff is a very important film in discussion with what we're going to talk about today. Because if Meek's Cutoff is a send-up or like a Reichardification of a Western, this is like that for the American heist film.
We had the foresight. We were a mastermind in thinking about this movie to cover on the podcast. And like, boom, wow, actually, it speaks directly to the film we're talking about today.
Also, we talked about her in episode 70, Showing Up. She gets mentioned in episode 73, 2023 Film and TV in Review, and episode 79, Kiyoshi Kurosawa to the Ends of the Earth. And before recording, we had a whole 10-minute conversation trying to recall how Kelly Reichardt came up in this episode. And it turned out it's based on vibes.
Well, that's what all Reichardt films are. They're just vibes, to be honest. And before we, I guess, get into this, there will be spoilers here for the Mastermind. So if you're okay with that, continue listening. But otherwise, you can go watch this. It's on movie right now, I think worldwide. You can go watch this movie.
Mr. Worldwide, Kelly Reichardt.
So maybe just to have a summary before we jump into it. This movie is set in 1970. It stars Josh O'Connor as a character named J.B. Mooney, who is a sort of carpenter. And he has a wife played by Alana Haim. And they have kids. And he concocts a plan to steal a bunch of Arthur Dove paintings from a museum in broad daylight, and then runs into some problems as he is trying to figure out how he can offload them, make money on them, and runs into a lot of problems with his parents and his wife because of the decisions that he's made. It is a little bit hard to describe because that's really the whole movie. It's just the heist and the fallout to the heist. because shit does not go to plan.
No, and it's a very poorly thought out plan.
Is this a plan? Or is this just some stuff that he wanted to do?
I think it's a result of the epidemic of male loneliness in America. He just wanted to hang out with his bros and steal some art.
Love that.
I'm half joking.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we just begin with how people felt about this. I feel like, Wilson, you're really hot on this when you saw this, I think, before either of us.
Still am. I caught this at the Hong Kong summer version of the International Film Festival. And of course, big fan of Reichardt going into it. So I had to watch it on the big screen and really loved it. I saw it with a friend that didn't like it as much. And I was like, well, you just got to watch more Reichardt and then you'll get it. I don't know what else to say to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry this movie does not work for you. And you're like bored this whole time. And you like don't care about Josh O'Connor's character because he's a dick. But I'm like, Reichardt makes movies about dicks and then makes you love these dicks. And you're like, I don't know. It's complicated. But I do speak a lot about how this is like her blank check movie in a very Reichardt sense of it. Well, it's big. It's big for Reichardt. She's going a lot of different places. It's set in a different time period. She has a big star in it. I do think that she's sort of reaching a bit right here and still within classic Reichardt fashion. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think Josh O'Connor, we've talked about previously in Challengers, gives a fantastic performance in that movie and really holds his own here with, I think, a character that's very murky, very comparable to a lot of the men that Reichardt has portrayed in her films. Maybe a little less loving than the guys in First Cow, maybe a little more loving than the guys in Meek's Cutoff. And I don't know, sort of falling within that realm of male characters. And I think the stuff prior to the heist itself and the heist itself is quite exciting. But I think when this movie really sings is when he really goes off on his own afterwards and does some soul searching. And I don't know, maybe there is a lack of a soul there, or it is quite up in the air. But I really enjoyed watching this and really connected with these characters and felt like the ending was really funny and also just icing on the cake. Very good stuff in the ending. One wish, give Alana Haim more to do, please. She's there. She's a great actress. Just make her do more. At Kelly Reichardt and PTA. Come on.
Eli?
I'd heard for months about how disappointed in this movie people were, both in terms of the international reaction out of Cannes. This is her second film to ever play at Cannes. And then more locally from critics and friends who I respect a lot, telling me that they're disappointed. One of the things that Reichardt talks about in interviews related to this movie is sort of expectations, and how this movie didn't necessarily meet expectations, either for a Kelly Reichardt movie, for a heist movie, for a 70s period piece, for a semi-political piece, for this one's involvement with the Vietnam War protests. And I find myself not disappointed. I'm most surprised in people's disappointment in this as a Kelly Reichardt movie. This feels very much so like a Kelly Reichardt movie to me. As you both are saying, it has so many links to her other works. The tone and feeling of it is dead on. And it has that similar drive that a lot of her other movies have, where there's a balance between showing you what this character is about and leaving a lot of room to really wonder the specifics of what's going on in their head. And I think this does a terrific job of that. I totally eat up that balance as she plays it. And I also, similar to Wilson, just enjoyed the experience of watching it and find that there's plenty to think about afterwards in a way that I really want to see in most any movie that I watch. So I liked it a lot. I thought it was perfectly fine and continue to cheer on Kelly Reichardt. I'm just sort of baffled by the critical reaction to this in the like art house world.
It's so interesting because like if anyone like goes to bat for Reichardt, it's me. And like interestingly, I would say that it's like probably of the three of us, I was most like bored by this movie, I would say, based on what you guys are telling me. Like in the terms of like sitting in the theater watching, and I was just like kind of squinting at the screen, wondering like, what am I looking at? Like, what is this? What kind of movie is this? And yet, it is a movie that is like a lot of Reichardt movies. And I think about how, oh, you know what? Reichardt loves criminals. So she makes some movies a lot about criminals and like people on the margins, people who are dicks, shitty people. She likes characters like this, and like she just like kind of expresses them the way that they are. And I think it's just funny because like her more recent films, I would say First Cow and Showing Up, are like, especially First Cow, much gentler, much nicer. So like if First Cow is your introduction to Kelly Reichardt, kind of maybe a bit of a trick. Showing Up is a little bristlier, a little like Michelle Williams' character, a little pricklier.
But still very humorous.
Yeah. But here we like have a shitty dude.
Yeah.
Pretty shitty. But like I think if you go back to like say like A Night Moves with like Jesse Eisenberg being like emo, or like I haven't seen her first feature, but apparently it's a bunch of like small time criminals or something like that. And even like Wendy and Lucy, Wendy is not very nice. Like she is like kind of on the margins for reasons. And Old Joy, that main dude that talks a lot, very annoying.
Yeah.
You know? So I think what's interesting is that maybe I do feel similarly. That I'm like, yeah, maybe because like I'm like thinking like, what the hell does a Kelly Reichardt heist film look like? Maybe I have a weird blended expectation, and maybe I was disappointed. But if anything, what is interesting about it is that I have never seen a film in which like its final scene makes sense of the entire thing for me. Like that's very rare.
So interesting because I feel really frustrated by the ending.
No
in a way that I can't quite figure out.
I think the ending, more than icing on the cake, makes sense of this whole movie for me because I'm like, oh, I get this now. Like it's like the whole time, like, what the fuck is this movie? And then I get to the ending, I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing here. Like, I see what you're doing, Reichardt. Like, I get it now. Because I think, if anything, my main gripe with this is that I'm a little bored watching this movie because I don't like spending time alone with JB Mooney. And like, he spends a lot of time like just doing stuff. And like, even though we have talked about how like we like watching process films, and I think there is some nice like, oh, how does he plan the heist? What is he doing with the paintings after? It's nice to watch, but it's like kind of not interesting. But I do like him talking to people. Like, and I remember talking about this when I talked about it for the TIFF episode, which is like, oh, it's like nice when he like interacts with people. And I love Old Joy, First Cow, and Showing Up because these are very two-hander type films, whereas the Mastermind is more of a one-person film.
You know what I'm finding myself thinking about in this discussion is Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
There's a similarly kind of prickly, unpleasant character to be around who is actively avoiding reflection on his errors and his ways. And also, they both have the characters go on geographic journeys across the sort of Northeast, Midwest-ish region of the country to get into situations where they need to, or where they should reflect on their actions. But whereas Llewyn Davis goes through it emotionally, and there are sort of more external, metaphorical reflections of his situation, Reichardt plays it pretty straight, and Mooney doesn't seem to really be emotionally impacted by the consequences of his actions. And I think that maybe is part of the nature of the audience reaction to this, that Reichardt isn't interested in showing someone really suffering because of the bad things they've done.
But I think that's what that makes the ending so perfect as well. All roads lead to this sort of unexpected but really poetic kind of way that this movie sends off JB Mooney.
Do you want to explain that ending? I think we can maybe even sort of kick off our formal discussion with the very ending.
Feels like we should start at the ending. And also, just quick plug, we do have an episode inside Llewyn Davis as well.
We
Just
do.
That's true.
Go check it out.
Let's talk about ending. Let me explain why I think it makes sense of the whole movie for me.
Yeah, please do.
Because in my kind of very quick wrap up about this movie on the Tokyo episode, which is that in the end of the day, this to me is a movie about individualism. Right. And where the movie ends, it ends with him committing a petty crime. Is this even a petty crime? He robs a woman. No, that's not a petty crime.
It's not a petty
That's not petty at all.
so funny
He robs
when he
an
does
old
as
lady.
well.
Yeah, like a ridiculous crime. And it's almost like, it's crazy that you're doing a crime, but also like kind of the lamest thing ever. It's like both scary,
So
but also lame.
pathetic.
Yeah. And then tries to slip away from being chased and then ends up in walking in a protest of the Vietnam War, and then is essentially mistaken by the police of being a protester and gets shoved into a van.
Well, even before that, he tries to ditch the wallet of the lady he's just robbed, and someone in the protest helps him out by saying, hey, buddy, you dropped this, which then directly leads to him getting clubbed on the head and dragged into a paddy wagon.
And so the way that I understand this from a maybe metaphorical or like allegorical or, I don't know, from a karmic standpoint,
Yeah.
here's a man that's only thought about himself the whole movie. And he's being mistaken for a person that thinks more about the rest of the world. And that is how he gets clubbed.
Yep.
When he pretends to care is when he gets got.
Yeah.
It's
And that
great.
is ironic to like a max degree. It's like when you try to hide in the people thinking that you're doing good, that is when you get got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't even he wanted to do this. It wasn't even calculated. It was just an accident. And then that's how he gets got. And like that's just like so random and like for a character like JB Moody, who's kind of like skirted by and like tried not very hard and somehow hasn't gotten killed, that's how he goes. It's almost like poetically makes sense.
Yeah, I buy that. I buy that.
Yeah.
I think the lingering almost like minute of screen time after that where the final shot, which I will admit I didn't anticipate being the final shot until it cuts to black, is a close-up on the back of the paddy wagon as it drives away, taking away JP Mooney out of the movie forever. But then it lingers on what becomes a wide of the cops in the empty street afterwards, putting another protester into a cop car, putting on a discarded hat and playing around with it and sort of joking around blithely.
That's where the money is, man. That's why I said blank check.
Right.
But it's such a good ending for him in the way that it's like he's like no one. And he was no one. And now he is no one. He's just gone. Like there's not anything.
Yeah, okay. And then she draws your attention back out to the kind of casual cruelty of these systems of power.
Yeah. And she she plants these seeds of the Vietnam War protesters
Absolutely.
throughout the film. And JB is like sort of not a care in the world to these protesters until this very last moment. And keep on thinking about like when I was watching, I was like, okay, what is the importance of setting this film at this moment in time and including a lot of these protests? And I think it pays off probably tenfold or at least double what is laid before to what ends the film. Great ending. Great ending.
Why does that frustrate you? Why?
I'll say that it makes more sense now talking about it, but it's that the film on purpose, I believe, because Kelly Reichardt is very smart, disrupts its own rhythm at the ending there. There's no sort of jazz score in that lingering moment, just looking at the cops. It's a very kind of oddly planimetric framing for Kelly Reichardt, like almost Wes Anderson-y in its symmetry and planimetric nature. And for a movie that has hewed so closely to Josh O'Connor, it's an odd, lingering, kind of ungraceful pause to end the movie on. Like, imagine the version of this movie that ends with the truck just driving away and it sort of cuts away sooner. But she chooses to stay with the cops here. And it's a pivot. I think this is productively frustrating, but it is frustrating. And I think I'm sort of thinking this out in real time. In the moment of watching, I was like, oh, it's done. Okay, I got the Vietnam stuff, but why this particular moment for the end? But it's making more sense now.
Yeah. Like partially like I kind of look at the movie as like a huge prank. Which is like weird. Like, is that a good thing? I'm not very sure. But like it feels like a prank because like it's like I know it's a genre send-up. Like we know she's gonna do this. We know when we go into this, it is not gonna be what you think. We already know. And somehow she still manages to not give in to your expectation of what Reichardt is gonna do. And yet it feels like a Reichardt movie. And I think that's why it's like kind of confusing for people watching this, right? She like zagged when you already thought she was gonna zag, and then she zagged. You know what I mean? So you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, double zag.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, you thought I was gonna do this? Nope. Yeah, and I'm not going conventional either. I'm going somewhere completely different. Right? You're like, what are you doing here? Yeah, and I think that's why it's like watching it. Like, there's no frame of reference here, like for what's happening. Even though we can sort of make some stuff, but we're like, what are you doing here, Kelly? Like, where are you going with this?
And that's exactly what she says in response to this AMC secret screening debacle.
Yeah, people were so pissed off about that.
So they sign up for this free movie through AMC and get shown the Mastermind as the surprise screening. And then there's a big hubbub on, I mean, relatively big. This is film Twitter we're talking about. Hubbub online about, I didn't pay for the movie and I want my money back. Ooh la la. So about this, in an interview with the Film Stage, Kelly Reichardt says, quote, I'm not interested in making a film that's already been made a million times. And then later on, she says, I don't see young people getting angry over franchise films. Why isn't that? Why doesn't that make you furious? It's someone selling you something in a 2-hour format that's really about selling you something else and pretending. Why isn't that infuriating to the 20-year-old? End quote. And I kind of think she, we've seen older directors complain about Marvel and whatnot. I kind of think she's got a really good point here that like culture values selling out right now in a way that is kind of lame.
I don't know if that's what I'm taking away from that, interestingly.
Or culture values consumerism, perhaps, and upholds it as a virtue instead of creativity.
Or maybe not even a virtue, but that we allow the leniency of selling out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if somebody goes and spends like $16 to buy a ticket for a movie and it's like the most like derivative genre / like Marvel superhero trash, they'll walk out of that movie and be like, yeah, it wasn't very good. And like, it was like kind of like the other one, sure. And they walk away from it and then they don't think about it anymore. But they're not going to be pissed off because they paid that money and they kind of already expected that.
It goes back to expectations.
Correct. But then they are okay with it being shitty in the way that they expect. But they are not okay with being confusing and strange in a way they do not understand in any way. Right? And that I think is interesting. When something is like, maybe you don't enjoy it. And I can get that you don't enjoy this. Like, I mean, I barely enjoyed parts of this. Right? But I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Then when I walk out of this, like, how should I be feeling? Right? Because now I don't even have like an experience to draw on when I watch a shitty movie in the way that this one is shitty to me, because I was bored or like it's confusing. So that's like interesting, like, I don't know, way of looking at it.
Well, one of the problems with our low cultural literacy is that the immediate reaction to something that is frustrating or not what you expected or not instantly pleasurable is that thing is bad because it did these things. Like it's a false equivalency between quality, enjoyment, and expectations.
And I feel like stuff like Marvel, stuff like Netflix original movies are becoming the opiate of the masses.
Yeah.
And people are happy to receive content that has been done 100 times over because it feels comfortable for them and it feels like they're not challenged to step out of that comfort zone anymore. And that is leading to this like low cultural literacy that you were talking about, Eli. And I feel like we are just sort of being entered into this vicious cycle of these big companies making these same movies over and over again because they're like, yes, people will go and pay and watch this because they know what they're getting into and not take the stabs at, I guess, whatever like other film company, Warner Brothers or A24 or Mubi is putting out there because no one wants to be adventurous anymore. Everyone's just happy to sort of consume the stuff they're used to consuming. And that's a real issue. And that is scary to me because we are heading down this path, at least with American consumers, that there's really no turning back now. I feel like we're past the point of no return. And
It's like, what's interesting to me now is like, I mean, I don't really disagree with that, but like, I would say that it's not new. This isn't new.
And I wouldn't put the blame solely at the feet of audiences for that.
no, not the audiences. But I think they are the ones being like duped.
Yes.
But what I'm trying to say is that like the studios or whatever have been duping us since like the fucking 40s. When we think about golden age classic Hollywood, we only remember the good ones, but think about all the like slop that they were making in that time too.
Yeah.
Because the slop then was not AI generated, but they were just making stuff that's like, this looks like the other movie, just come down and buy popcorn and that's how I'm going to make your money. I just got to keep giving you things that feel novel, but are also expectations. Once in a while, something good comes from that. And like, maybe that is just always what it is. Maybe this is just...
And that still happens now.
Yeah.
You know, those cultural kind of pivot moments of, you know, a couple of years ago, we had our debrief on all the Eat the Rich movies like The Menu. And that happened because of the cultural revolution of Parasite and a little bit of Knives Out concurrently. So we remember those kind of novel pivot moments when someone says, okay, this is getting boring, let's remix it, and pushes the culture. So you're right, Ben, that does always happen. I do think that the sort of thing that James Gray has talked about in interviews of Hollywood leaning very far into making, I think, a greater quantity of the samey, low quality stuff has lowered the bar and made us more accepting of slop.
Yeah.
And this merger, I'm sure we'll get into
Oh my God.
this when we talk about the year in review. I'm sure we will devote minutes, hours, I don't know,
Hours?
days talking about this. But when you sort of remove competition, you get less and less opportunities for filmmakers to zag.
And also, there's less of a local film culture because, as we've also talked about on the pod, the main kind of spaces where there are opportunities to go see repertory films, see independent films, see smaller, more zaggy stuff are on the East and West Coast, New York and LA. And it's few and far between.
I think a big question for me now is like, is it as bad or like, is it so much worse than I thought? Or are we just par for the course as it has always been with like how, you know, cinema is always in crisis? But I don't know. It does feel worse, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. I doubt myself, but hard to say.
You know, it's hard to not tie a link to the kind of unquestioning cultural illiteracy of the moment to like tie that in with global political trends.
Yeah.
Which I do not think is apples and oranges. I think it's two sides of the same coin. So I think direness in one realm enhances direness in another.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Back to the movie.
I'm curious what parts of this, like I would say from a maybe like cinematic pleasure standpoint, you guys found.
I think it's very funny.
Yeah, I also thought it was really funny. I think the kids in this are real like kids. Like I think their little ticks, their little
annoying.
like movements. I'm like, wow. I guess I haven't really seen like kids like this in like a long time in cinema. I guess I did see one yesterday with Left-Handed Girl. Talk more about that in the year in review episode. But I love the two little boys in this. They really stole the scene anytime they were on camera. Score, I never remember a Kelly Reichardt score until this one. And I think the soundtrack is really fantastic. I love how it accompanies a lot of the heist stuff, which I guess maybe without the score can maybe play a little bit boring because of, I guess, how slow things are moving. But I really, really dug the score and how it complemented a lot of the scenes.
It always comes in when JB thinks he's like doing something cool or like he's hot shit. He is so lame. and
Yes, he
the
is.
score is like a little bit funny too, because it is great musically. And it also underscores those moments when JB thinks that he's being a cool individualist and is a genius when really he's so dumb. I also find pleasure in the performances, especially Josh O'Connor, just how he can be simultaneously kind of flat in affect and make me lean in and really wonder what is going on with this guy. He's a really talented actor. I really like Gabby Hoffman in this. I think she has a crucial role to play.
That scene between the two of them,
Really love that. Maybe my favorite scene.
when the other friend is gone and she's like, she confronts him and she's like, I know what you're doing. You're like sort of like holding your old art professor to this like high regard by stealing paintings of artists he revered. And it's a really great moment in this movie. And I think it really kicked the film in my head into like high gear when that was happening. And everyone else is just probably just like, oh yeah, another conversation scene. And I'm like, yeah, this is fucking like playing off of each other.
This is cinema.
Yes, yes.
Also, anytime John Magaro shows up in anything, I'm going to be happy. I love that.
That
man.
was for me like a big bright spot when I was like, oh, like what's going on here? Like I'm sick of Josh O'Connor's character for a while. And then suddenly it's like, oh, this guy is just like fawning over him all of a sudden. You're like, whoa, what is happening? But that's what he wants. And then the gut check from like Gabby Hoffman after is like, no, you're not cool. You're lame.
Getting to see what kind of person he was in art school, and also like the question of how he got Alana Haim to fall in love with him when she so clearly sees through his shtick now. You get the sense of the charisma and kind of the bulb that has burned out in his past. What makes him tick, the grandeur that he wants.
This is sort of like Patrick Zweig past the prime, like 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
If he was a art student and not a world-class tennis player, I don't know. Fuck,
Real deep cut heads,
whatever.
yeah.
Don't listen to me. I'm just trying to draw connections. We have an episode on challengers.
Yeah.
Also, Eli Gelb plays one of the heist helping guys, and he is the cousin of my colleague and very close friend. So I got Paul, shout out Paul. It was fun to like see him be like, oh yeah, I see this. They have similar faces. Like,
Oh, that's great.
and he's really good in it. Guy won a Tony for Stereophonic.
Damn.
Oh, cool.
Talking about actors, like it's kind of crazy like how much it's a Josh O'Connor year. Like it's kind of nuts. I mean, Challenges was last year, but I think that kicked off something really crazy this year. Right. He's just like in everything. And I think this new Spielberg movie, crazy.
I still haven't seen the Ryan Johnson.
Narvai.
Yeah. He's great in it. And I was like, well, wait, he's the main character in this. I didn't know going in. I was like, oh, he's the main dude. And now he's going to be in this Spielberg movie. I feel like dude's just been like jumping. He's just been going up. I've never seen like an actor stock rise so quickly. Actually, maybe that's not true. I feel like that's been happening with like a lot of like the Austin Butlers, the Jacob Elordis.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right,
But Josh
right.
O'Connor feels very different from this group for some reason. Because he's kind of like more of an everyman vibe compared to the rest of
Yeah.
the other people we're name checking here, which is like interesting. And like I think displays a lot of range in all these films that I've been mentioned, like Challenges to this, to Wake Up Dead Man, like very different characters. And not even just very different characters, very different kinds of films that your acting has to mesh into, like very different acting styles.
I love the story that I guess he tells quite a lot about how he like sort of really went out of his way to court Alice Rohrwacher.
For La Chimera, yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
for La
I forgot about that
Chimera.
too, yeah.
And you can really tell that this guy is a director-focused actor and wants to work with good directors. And like, I guess that's how he got into the Luca movie. That's how he got into the Rohrwacher movie. That's how he got into a Reichardt movie. And we've said prior, in order to like, for Reichardt to make a lot of her prior films, right? Her actors had to take a pay cut, right? Is that what we said prior? Maybe not.
I think so.
Specifically talking about Michelle Williams, who sort of usually leads the films and is the one who has the biggest pay in the film, but she leads and takes a big pay cut and everyone follows her. So I'm assuming that is probably what's happening with the Mastermind, unless she got a lot of money from movie to make this movie.
I don't know, actually. Like, even though like this Josh O'Connor stock is like exploding, I don't think it was exploding when he was making the movies, you see. And I think they're just all happening now because everyone's like, wait, this guy is good. And then like he made a bunch of stuff in quick succession and they're all just coming out at the same time. And I think he will maybe have a big paycheck later. But right now he's like putting in the work, right? And like actually this is the most exciting time for actors and actresses. This period in which they're just about to see their star launch meteorically, that's when they do the most and best work, to be honest. Right? Where they don't get to rest. They actually have to show people they can do it.
Where do you see Timothée Chalamet here?
I was thinking the same thing.
Is he already past this? Is he like the Dunes? Like he's already there?
I don't know.
I think Marty Supreme is a turning point. I think Dune is him proving he can do the thing with arguable amount of success. But the reactions to Marty Supreme are like, oh, this guy's really got it.
He got it?
Yeah, specifically with his performance.
Yes. Yeah, like this is the moment when he has, weirdly more so than the Bob Dylan picture, done the thing and made an original character that really left a mark.
But you know what? I feel like Josh O'Connor has been doing that for like 10 movies.
He's just
whatever.
less braggadocious about the whole thing that like Timmy's been doing. And Timmy's been in conversation for a while now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have so many tangents in this episode. But anyway.
We do. It's fine.
Well, I said this before we started recording, but I'm almost more interested in the reaction to this movie than the movie itself. I really do enjoy the movie deeply, but the whole response, like this movie didn't give me what I expected from general audiences and people who are familiar with Kelly Reichardt's work alike, it's just odd, especially the latter category.
It's interesting because like I don't know if people realize that we recorded this episode with like Die My Love back to back. And like, if Die My Love is a movie in which, like, at the end of this, I'm like, what is this movie about? Like, I never leave a Reichardt movie being like, what was she trying to do? Like, it's so clear. Like, her thesis is always very clear. Even if you don't really fully get it, you're like, but I think I know what you're trying to approach. Like, you can get it. And like, it's interesting and usually somewhat novel, right? And clearly this was so weird for people that they like couldn't process. Like, this is a heist movie, question mark? I mean, it is. There's a heist. He stole some shit, but there's no satisfaction in it. Heist movies are usually, like, if you want to go into genre, like, a heist movie usually plays into a few tropes, right? It's like, okay, what is the plan? How is the plan fuck up? And then how do we get over it? And then how do we solve the problem? And usually the heroes, which are the thieves, usually, they get away. But here, the thief is neither the hero and neither does he get away. There's nothing to enjoy here from the process of the heist. That heist, major fumble, major fuck
really
up.
bad.
Really bad. Bad plan, bad people you're working with, no idea what the exit strategy is. Why is it in broad daylight?
Pointing a gun at teenagers, bad.
Yeah, like bad background checks and then like poor leadership, like just everything bad.
Hilarious to watch. Though.
Yeah. But also not played like screwball, you know what I mean? Played like kind of like, that was dumb. You know? Like that was dumb. Like, which I think is interesting because like she could have leaned into like a screwball thing, but I think she was just like, no, this is just, I think to Reichardt, very funny. Because we do know she has a weird sense of humor. Like this is her sense of humor.
Like when he goes to hide the paintings in the barn space and he like climbs up to this top level on a ladder and the ladder falls once he's up there and he's just kind of like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
It's so great.
There is a Reichardt wavelength that you do have to like tune into. I do sometimes miss it. Like I don't always tune into this, but like even so, like I can like see her scheme, like her grand design, or like see what she's doing here, even if I don't maybe fully enjoy it in terms of like pleasure of like watching it. But from looking at a piece of art that maybe like I don't maybe like the way that it's being made, but I can like see the point of it. I guess when we're talking about the response of films, like she's trying to say that, oh, with the form, you can't allow for more variations of what the expectation for the form to deliver can be. Whether it's like, if you want to make another reference to episodes we've been doing, it's like Chantal Ackerman, where the point of the movie isn't entertainment. But I think it's tough. Like cineplexes are like places to be entertained, usually.
Yeah.
Usually.
Elsewhere in that film stage interview, she says, quote, "People talk about slow cinema, but I feel the pace of things to be a constant assault on the senses. I think it's completely commerce driven and it's not about seeing a lot. I guess some people go to films because they want a totally emotional experience throughout and people want not to be led along," end quote. It's like watching Kelly come to terms with the fact that general audiences don't want what she's delivering.
She knows they don't want this either, you know?
Right, yeah, she does know that. But I like that phrase, it's about not seeing a lot,
Yeah,
that she says. Her movies are about seeing a lot.
that's true.
And I just feel like she's like, yeah, she's occupying the space in American cinema that no other director is like doing right now. I'm just so happy because it was like such a big get for her in the making of this film. And I'm just like a little saddened because it was not received with the hype that I really had for this film and like the success that it could have gotten her and the eyes that it could have been on her filmography. But yeah, I guess I have to really accept the fact that she is a niche filmmaker for a reason because she makes niche films. But these are films that I really love.
Yeah, she's arguably the best American director right now.
Yeah, like we've said this many times.
Her and Fred Wiseman.
Yeah.
True. It's funny because we always lament the marketing of her films.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this film, weirdly, more well marketed than most of her recent efforts, but one of the least marketable films that she has. like it's so
Terribly
strange.
ironic.
Like this is the one that we're gonna try and push, and then when people do watch it, it's like, what the fuck? Because I think showing up first, Cal, these things, if you had marketed them, would have worked for people.
Yeah.
But this is the one. Let's push this one, and this is the hardest one to swallow.
Well, maybe she'll work with Mubi again because clearly they are more willing to put money behind her pictures than A24 was.
I'm very glad that Mubi got this movie because we talked about this on the first Cow episode or the Showing episode. Like I've been very vocal about how much I dislike how A24 is handling the release of her movies. And I think the fact that this was the AMC secret movie has its negatives, obviously, but its positives is like she is on more people's radars. And
There's no bad press.
yeah, not just like film Twitter people, which we saw a lot of negative reactions from, right? But like a lot of normies like that maybe just go to AMC here and then and wanted to see a free movie. And at least like I think maybe not a entirely enjoyable movie, but hopefully a movie that you can remember because it was so distinct and hopefully, I guess, not too bored by this movie.
It is kind of interesting because this movie is landing on a lot of top lists for 2025 of like fairly well-known movie critics. And so it'd be so interesting to be like, oh, a person that accidentally sees the Mastermind and their first record for the first time. And they're like, that was bad. And then they're like, why is everyone saying this is good? And like, I am just thinking about that cognitive or like mental dissonance of like, wait, how can everyone say it's good when I distinctly think it's bad? And I think that's productive confusion.
Yeah. But it sucks that people think it's bad, though.
I guess.
And I think that frequently slips into people thinking, oh, these critics are elitist, they're wrong because they're not confirming my experience. It's an incorrect view of criticism.
Yeah, but maybe I don't need everyone to be convinced, but maybe if some of them are, that's going to be interesting. That's good enough. But once again, like interesting connection with our back-to-back episodes today, which is like Diamond Love, also Mubi. And I don't know, Mubi feels like it's like pushing marketing a lot more of like these auteur films. And low-key feel like they're listening to our podcast and like picking directors based on it. I don't know, man. I'm just like, I mean, the next time that you hear like, I don't know, Movie release a film from Abdurrahmane Sissako or like Miranda July, it's because they were listening to us.
They are. They are.
I don't know where to go with this. Like, I don't like my brain's like very tired, but I feel like there's more to talk about with this.
Okay, I did complain that Alana Haim gets nothing to do in this movie, and she's also doing a lot of nothing in that phone call because she's like very silent. But I think it was a very good choice for that moment that she's not giving him anything in that final phone call, and it really works for me. I just wish we were with her, I don't know, a little bit more, but it is very much his story, and his type of character is very much a Reichardt type of character as well. So I completely understand the intention behind it, but I just wanted her to use Alana Haim more.
Also, everyone's constantly asking her about dinner.
Yeah.
Rude. Like, show some gratitude. I also really like that final phone call, and it plays in a kind of humorous structure too, where this guy who has refused any self-reflection whatsoever in this phone call is finally apologizing, finally owning up to it, admitting, what he's done wrong. She's giving him nothing because she knows that the next beat is going to be, oh, and I need more money. And it's like, okay, of course. Like, all this stuff was just to get more money, which feels like that prank structure that you mentioned, Beth.
Yeah.
Like a prank on the audience.
It's almost like at every moment you're trying to figure out like, oh, are we supposed to sympathize with him? And the answer is never.
No.
Like, I remember the conversation with him and his mother, and the mother's like, yeah, like, remember the thing that you were supposed to do before, something like that? And how that was disappointing. I feel like you tricked me before, and then he basically is tricking her again because he's like trying to explain to her why he needs the money.
Yeah.
And it's like a flat out lie. And you're like, oh, okay. Also, that was his plan to offload the painting somehow.
Yeah. He didn't think it through.
Yeah.
Stupid man.
Although generally, I don't like movies that are like the main character just like sucks. And I think that's maybe the reason why this is like so much harder to swallow as a Riker for me. But I see the design here, from Riker, and I get it. It's like weird. Like, I think in abstract, as a whole, at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, actually, you know what? I think this is a good movie. Which is a particularly weird conclusion and experience because like I can't really pick it out on a scene by scene basis of like, oh, this is a great scene, or whatever. It's more like, oh, this whole thing, just like I get it and like I like it. I like where she's going with this.
I love it because like this is the exact opposite feeling with Die My Love, where in a scene by scene basis we are enjoying it, but as a whole, it's like what's there.
Yeah.
I would take the Mastermind's approach over Die My Love's.
Don't pit women against each other, Eli. At me as well.
I'm also thinking about it like, I don't know, compared to like other kinds of art house cinema. I've just been watching a lot of like slow cinema from like Asia and thinking about how this feels slow in a similar way, but also like sometimes I feel like a lot of those tend to be a bit like, I don't get the point. But strangely enough, I think Reichardt makes something that is like slow and maybe not fully enjoyable, but like she makes always that very strong point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That feels almost like, that is like the most American part of her filmmaking. Where it's like maybe the moral or like the message is like clear, like very obvious.
There's a reason for being.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, like not necessary for all films, but maybe something that maybe I personally gravitate to and like a more American or more Western audience does gravitate to. And so I think that is still like partially the core of how she comes up with these things. Any last words for the Mastermind?
I continue to root for Kelly, and I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, please give her more money. I'm going to put this on my year-end list. Spoilers for my year-end list, but it's there.
Yeah.
Big up to Kelly. Please come on. If you're listening, please. I'm literally begging.
You think she listens to podcasts?
If you know Kelly Reichardt and you're listening to this podcast, please let her know that I would like bow at her feet over a Zoom call.
I don't think she'd like that.
Okay, I don't know. No, I
think she'd want us to be chill.
Oh my gosh, I don't think it's possible for me
to be chill. It's true. It's actually true. Have I ever seen Wilson chill? No.
Chilson lie.
Yeah, my alter ego never comes out during a director interview. It's just never there.
Chill son, lie down.
Chill son, lie down.
That's really good.
Hey man, if Kelly was to come on and like teach us about cinema, I'm like so down.
I would really want to do the format that we do of like ask her to come on and discuss a movie of her choosing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a film professor.
Yeah. Who else could do that? Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Except I don't
That
think he
would
speaks
be
English.
Yeah.
Plus interpreter.
Thank you for listening to Deep Cut. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts to help others discover the show. A great way to support us is to leave a review or comment on episodes directly on Spotify. If you want to chat with us and other fans of Deep Cut, come join our Discord server where we talk about movies, TV, music, and share what we're up to. But if you want to drop us an email, you can find us at hello@deepcutpod.com. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us with a monthly subscription. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, and a very special thanks to our Patreon Deep Cut Pick supporters, Leah Lai and Nicholas Gao. You can join this list if you are a Deep Cut Pick supporter on our Patreon. You can keep up with Deep Cut on Instagram, Letterboxd, and X at Deep Cut Pod. Click the link in the description or go to deepcutpod.com to find links to everything we've mentioned here. Deep Cut is hosted and produced by us, Wilson Lai, Benjamin Yap, and Eli Sands. Our cover art is designed by Justina Yam, and our theme song is composed by Eli Sands.
I have the mind of a master. I have a mind of a mastermind. I'm Wilson Lai. No, that's not even it. Fuck, I'm Wilson.
I'm a yapper or a bandit like a Benjamin Yap.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Ben.
I'm so Eli like that.
Yes. There we go.
Take care. We're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next time.